of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. Thanks for coming. We have one new board member tonight, Nolan Strotter. So please welcome him. And then I guess if you want to do some introductions real quick so he knows who you are. Is that okay, Nolan, unless you know them all already?
Yeah, go for it.
Darla Long, BES principal.
Lindsay Graff, Director of Special Education.
Lee Baldwin, High School Principal.
Arian Seidel, Assistant Principal, Athletic Director, High School.
Craig Coleman, Technology Director.
Okay, and you met these two gentlemen there. So, with Johnny may be a little late tonight, and Selena is online here, so, and again, welcome. So, with that, we will get started. You read the agenda, is there any additions to the agenda? Okay, our first order of action is resolution to establish the school board officers.
I'll move to approve the resolution to establish the election of school board officers as presented.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? None, submit your vote. Selena, can you vote online or you? Did she submit her vote? Selena, can you submit your vote online or you want to voice?
Is there anything in comments? Because there was a theme earlier. Yeah.
She's there. Selena? We'll hold on just a minute because being since she was checked in, so.
You usually follow those prompts online.
Yeah.
Pretty simple.
I was hoping you were doing it from the quick view, but it wasn't good, so I feel like.
There are times that it's delayed, so you just kind of sit there. And then there's something about as soon as you say you can see it, it'll pop up immediately, and then you look foolish.
I just have to start talking.
Just ask her if she can submit her vote since she, for the resolution. It says her audio is terrible.
Has anybody got any cool plans for the weekend? There you go. That's gonna be one. So will I.
Sorry.
This Friday's, homecoming, right? Who we playing?
Eureka. Yes, I just told my daughter, yeah.
What is the schedule of this?
And everything will be at the high school, which is kind of cool because they don't have enough for a full JV, girls and boys. So we'll do, 2 quarters of JV girls and 2 quarters of JV boys at the
Selena
high
voted
school.
online, so okay. Motion
Then
carries.
varsity girls and varsity
6-0.
boys. Are we still at 4?
We got, she submitted it.
4:30, okay.
So you know what time to be there.
Yeah. You can
So
run.
nobody will have to be at the middle school.
What time do you project varsity girls start?
6. They have to start at 6.
She said I voted, but I still can't hear her.
Yeah. Okay.
class would be, 8, 9.
We've got another vote.
We got another vote, so okay, I'm gonna see if she will.
Here, I can just go, you know what, I'm gonna just call. We're gonna try this. Hello, I think we're just gonna try to go audio on the phone, if that's okay with you. All right, good enough, I will put you on speaker and, we will go from here. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Next action item for president and vice president. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to elect James Higgins as president and Lucas Allen as vice president of the Board of Education, Burlington Unified School District number 244 for 2026.
Yes, that means I get the second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Submit your vote.
Has to be, by raise of hand.
Yes.
So,
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I have to raise it by raising hand. All those in favor?
All right.
Okay, and
Selena, you can, vote yea or nay?
Nay.
Nay, okay. Motion carries 5-1. Okay, moving on, consent agenda.
I'll move to approve consent agenda as presented.
Second. Motion second, further discussion? Submit your vote. Hmm, did it come up?
No, it just did right now.
James, you motioned to accept, no, you made the motion.
Motion, I
Maybe
second.
this. Thank you,
There we go.
okay.
Cool.
and I would like to point out that, we did get 2 donations in here, one from City of Burlington. That it, I believe that is their,
Yeah.
what they agreed to pay to help
For
with
the
the
help.
groundwork just south of high school, and then we also took a $1,740 donation from the Forest Road Broad Memorial to Wildcats Care. So I'd like to thank both of those groups.
Right. And, the official formal document to approve the dirt work, was received, on Friday. That it met specifications and that allowed the city to contribute the money. And again, we thank the city for contributing to that project, and we'll be talking about the land and what we need to do and moving forward to try to market that and sell that soon.
Awesome.
Okay.
Student recognition.
Yeah. I like that. Student recognition.
We have a lot of kids that did really well, levels 3 and 4 on the state assessments from last year. If you look at the total, again, 246 students. It's an amazing number of students. This is about 70 more than last year, which is tremendous. And again, credit goes out to the students, the staff, families, community for the work that those kids are putting in. And all, it takes a village to help kids be successful.
And we recognize these kids at the ball games, is that right?
Well, we've done that in the past, but now because they decided to do the recognitions in their buildings at like assemblies at Burlington Elementary School, middle school, and high school.
Okay.
So they're doing them at their assemblies, their on-site assemblies.
Great.
couldn't see his face from here, but in the voting for the election, no one was hoping to be the president. A couple of things, and it's not that the auditor sitting here, 'cause I'm not really trying to poke my finger in her eye or anything, but we do an audit every year. And I went through the minutes, I couldn't find, about 4 or 5 meetings ago, we had those shares that we had given up, because we held them for years, many years. And an audit never caught those, and so we ought to think about who's auditing, what they're auditing. If we can hold shares for years that we shouldn't have, something slipped through the crack. And so, it's worth thinking about when you bring on an auditor, make sure they are looking for things like that, because that should not have happened, to hold those shares for many years.
Well, so I can only explain this, is that that was, happened out there, and when we didn't know anything about it at all until they notified us. And then, that's when everybody got involved. So, I mean, we wouldn't have known.
But if an audit of your books of where all the assets are should catch where the assets are. So-
But it's year over year. and
I'm not gonna, I just, it's worth paying attention to.
I 100% agree with you that we should challenge everything that we have in this book, and
Yeah, every asset has to be accounted for, and you had assets that weren't being accounted for, is the bottom line. So, another thing, just, you want to bring? Oh,
Okay.
another thing, just, as I was reading through the packet for tonight, our 10th graders are 2 years away from the workforce. And our 10th graders this year had a problem with the reading with understanding. And as I looked through that, I was thinking about our workforce. There's an employer in our county, I talked to them in December, they're having trouble finding employees who can read instruction manuals and understand what's expected of them. Another employer I talked to back in about September, October, and their problem is they can't find employees who can read safety under instructions and comprehend what they're trying to get across. And so if we have sophomores who are 2 years away from the workforce, we need to make sure that they can read with comprehension the instructions. Now, one of our teachers that I highly admire in our school district, I talked to a couple of years ago, and that teacher reads material to the students because they comprehend better. Well, maybe they do, but that's not accomplishing what we're trying to accomplish. We're trying to get students who leave our school system ready to go to the workforce or to college and to be able to read with comprehension. So I just think it's worth paying some attention to. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Nolan, maybe next year you can be the president.
Okay, anybody else? Thank you, Jay. Anybody else? So we have a thank you from Ulrich family, so, thank you. So that was in memory of Don Ulrich, Selena, Selena's father.
Yes.
BES report for Darla.
I don't have any additions at this time. You guys have any corrections or questions for me? Corrections, you are welcome. Corrections, questions, whichever you'd like to give me.
Okay, anybody have anything else for Darla there, or any questions? Okay. That being said, moving on to Matt Spring, and he's not here.
He is not, he did middle school basketball tonight, so.
Okay. So if you have any questions for him, be sure to run them up through Craig or whatever to get them to Matt. Okay. In high school, Lee Baldwin.
Good news is I don't have a 30-minute spiel tonight, so if you guys don't have any questions, we can move right on.
Okay, any questions for Lee? Okay, moving on, this is kind of quick. Lindsay,
No major changes. We have been able to move some people and hire a couple people here and there. So BES is looking a little bit better. We're actually gonna meet with another person. Well, Daryl's gonna possibly meet with them tomorrow because I'm out of town. High school, we were able to backfill one position and we're in communication with somebody else to fill there. Middle school's still looking good. South of the county is looking good, and north of the county, I think, is currently just right on full. So, little tight and we're stretched, but better than being down 10 openings, so.
So how many openings do we have total?
Well, officially, we still have about 4 openings, but like I said, we have a couple that are,
Yeah,
we're having conversations about and
okay,
maybe making some movement on it by the end of the week, so.
all right, thank you. Anything else for Lindsay? Technology, Craig don't want to talk right now. Anybody have any questions for Craig?
How's the AI policy, like, I know you have some notes in here about it, but like, is there something that you've seen out there that's like, yeah, that's where we need to go, or is there
Yeah,
something?
yeah, sorry, we've been, we've been looking, we've got 5 or 6 schools that have really good, well-developed policies. Greenbush also, and some of the other service centers, also ISTE, which is the International Society for Technology and Education. They've got recommendations in that as well. So kind of putting it all together, and we want something that's workable,
Right.
you know, kind of lays out what is and isn't allowed, and
I mean, it's unique because I know that my employer encourages us to use it to be more, you know, productive and get things done and do stuff, so we can't just say, hey, no AI, because kids wouldn't, they'd be behind when they get to the workplace, so getting
Exactly.
the policy together that
exactly.
lets them learn it, but to do good.
Yeah, a lot of the districts are using kind of a classroom poster with different levels, and, you know, like, this is a 0 level assignment, you know, this needs to be all your creation. This is, you know, a level 2, or, you know, blue level, you know, whatever, but, this is, you know, you're allowed to use AI for ideas, but the content needs to be yours, and, you know, and so on.
I'll be a work in progress for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really hoping February, March, we're adopting a classroom-based plan.
I did read something just today, actually, related to this. There was a teacher somewhere, and the way they handled the AI was, they went to the students, they said, okay, go have AI write a report on this for you, and then review the report and tell me all the things that are wrong with it. So it taught them how to use the AI, it also taught them, and they learned, hey, AI is not always right, you need to be able to do this on your own also. Thought it was kind of a creative take on it.
That's all I have.
Cool, good, thank you. Anybody have anything else? Okay, food service.
You have some, again, reports from food service, from transportation grounds, and then from maintenance. If there's anything that you need me to relay back to Brian, Anna, or Margarita, I'll be happy to do so. So you can just let me know, shoot me an email, whatever the case might be.
The food service report's dated January 2025.
Oh, that's the 22nd, yeah, I forgot that.
How did you catch that? How did you catch that?
It's literally what I do.
Okay. Any other questions? Not, moving on to superintendent's report.
Board of Education Appreciation Month is this month, and again, I want to thank all of you board members for the service, again, to the student, staff, and the community, and it's very, very much appreciated, and we have some ice cream cake for everybody here tonight. So, yay team for the ice cream cake, so once we finish up, we'll have a little dessert, so again, thank you for your community service. I'm going to kind of focus on parent and community involvement in our district. For the USD strategic plan, again, there's a number of bits and pieces of information. I'm not going to read the whole thing verbatim, but we do seek out parent and community involvement and thoughts and ideas, because again, it's public education, and the key thing here, the key word is public. So we've had a lot of different advisory groups over the years. We've sought out input from different people. We're trying to figure out what to do with the Burlington Elementary School bond issue. We sought out information from, I can say, the public. We're also seeking out information on the superintendent search from not only the public, but our students and staff. And so again, I do believe you guys all do a very good job of listening to to the public's input and views. And again, you are public servants, just like I am, and we want to try to listen to what the people in Burlington and USD 244 have to say. So again, a lot of different things that we're doing in terms of that parent community involvement, that aspect of our strategic plan. Number 3, I shared with you some information in the past month or two from KASB about live streaming board meetings. And KASB really discourages any type of live streaming of any board meetings. Again, it's not that they say you can't do it, and of course we're doing it, so again, it can be something that we can continue. But in talking with Christy and Craig, because it's been brought up again in terms of just whether we should continue or not, haven't really had I'm going to say a conversation about should we or should we not continue. And then the question becomes too in terms of do you do every board meeting, do you do every special board meeting, or every any type of does the community then get to a point where they're expecting every meeting to be live streamed? And so it may be something to discuss at next month's board meeting. If you have some information, if you want some additional information, or you want to seek it out on your own, that's fine. Again, you can choose to live stream. I would say this, and correct me if I'm wrong, Christy and Craig, but KASB suggests if you do live stream your one type of meeting, you should be live streaming them all. Is that correct?
Yes.
So, again,
Every special meeting, even if it's a 5-minute, all those, yeah.
Save you some time, Jay.
So anyway, it's something to at least maybe discuss. Again, we may decide to continue doing what we're doing. We can do that. We can choose to live stream every meeting. We can live stream the monthly meeting, the second Monday of each month only. We can, it's kind of up to you. So it may be something you guys want to think about and discuss and talk about in the future.
Craig, I will ask, is the concern with it being live or with the idea of putting the video out for everybody to go back and look at later?
Yeah, the concern can be a variety of different things. So if you look, if you go, technology-wise, you look at TikTok, you look at X, there are a lot of people doctoring videos. It hasn't happened for us yet here in Burlington, but there are people that will doctor videos, and they will, put out those videos with incorrect information, or they'll use it instead of getting the truth, if you will, out there. There will be people that will try to doctor videos to make it fit a personal agenda potentially, whatever the case might be. There's also, I said, there's other concerns in terms of, like, in board meetings, there will be some people that follow Robert's Rules of Order, or they follow parliamentary procedure to a T. We don't necessarily follow to a strict T either Robert's Rules of Order or parliamentary procedure. So that's another piece of the puzzle. There might be people that would, say you should be following a certain, procedure, if you will. But that's, again, there's just a number of different things that can be a concern. So, again, something to think about over the next month. If there's some information you want me to collect for you, I can send it to you via email. If you want to do a little research on your own, you sure can. But that's just the information that Christy, Craig, and I have talked a little bit about. What you decide's up to you, and again, it's up to how we move forward. So anyway,
Do we have, I probably don't have any idea how many people watch the live stream?
We can get it for you.
We
can get it for you. Usually live, there's about 3 or 4, and I'd say depending on the, like there's 3 right now. Depending on the topic, is whether you get additional views during the month or not.
So anyway, something to think about, and we can talk about in February or March. Then the last item I have, and I have Brian Fenmore here from McCown Gordon and Clark Simpson from GMCN Architects, and we have shared with you some information, and there's some documents. You have them, and basically over the past 6 months, from when the bond issue failed, you asked us to look into getting some information on add-on renovation to Burlington Elementary School. So having said that, Darla and I have worked with Brian Clark and Mike Hattrup from McCown Gordon to basically come up with some of that information for you, and we shared some of that back in December. We've also done, like I said, done a little bit more work on this topic for you guys. If you look at some of the documents that we have, the one that, again, we kind of came up with a number. We did spend a lot of time on the add-on renovation piece to Burlington Elementary School, because that's really, we weren't hearing, that's what the direction was that we needed to go back a year or so ago. We got a little bit of information, a very, very small amount of information, just did a little bit of dive, just a little dive into what we thought maybe Burlington Elementary School, the renovation piece would cost. We came up, again, just getting a little information from a construction company, about $25 million. Going through the process that Darla, Brian, Clark, me, and Mike have gone through, again, I shared with you, we came up with the light, the medium, and the heavy renovation pieces to Burlington Elementary School. And you see that, it's a copy here. We do have some copies over here if anybody in the audience wants to take a peek. And basically, this is a possible flyer. Again, I want to make sure I emphasize this. This is a possible flyer of what we could look to promote a possible bond issue for Burlington Elementary School renovation and add-on. And again, that number is not 25 million, it's going to be more like 34 million. Again, because you're renovating, we did a much deeper dive, as you can tell, light, medium, heavy, the renovation pieces. This would include new parking and new drop-off areas. It would also include a new playground, potentially relocating it next to the current turf playground. It would include, again, about 8,000 square foot of new addition, 5,000 for an office area, and 3,000 for a music room / FEMA storm shelter type of location. So with that being said, I say that this document right here just gives you a rough idea. We can blow this up into poster size. If we are looking at getting information out to the public, whether it be community meetings, town hall meetings in February, March, whatever the case might be. I'm going to stop kind of here and let Brian or Clark chime in, and if I'm missing anything, guys, Darla as well, please chime in.
Yeah, so, thank you. This has been a very collaborative exercise, working together, and I appreciate the time that you shared off your busy schedule as well. So we were able to look at pretty much every room, corridor, get all the doors unlocked when we needed to see some of the inner workings of the elementary school, and work through there. This is an initial plan. There's still a lot of work to do, but looking at it the way that we have it broken down with a light, medium, and renovation or heavy renovation areas to truly try to figure out what is that total cost to ultimately bring this facility up to the modern teaching and learning environment, similar to what you would expect in a new build. We're also looking at trying to alleviate some of the pressure points that we see with the number of students that have to go through the dining and the cafeteria area, and looking creatively to not just put an addition on the north side of that elementary school, but truly size that correctly where it would enable some new space, definitely much needed office and dedicated entry into the building, some great front parking, drop-off lane, try to utilize that as much as possible. It brings in that security element that has been expressed as the desire with all the doors around the existing facility.
Yeah, and one of the challenges with this building is, and the idea of why we look to move the office to the north, is then you have sort of the front door, the face of the facility that focuses people where to go to come visit the building, and then allows you to then secure the other exits or in that during the normal operational hours, when school's going on. It's not gonna, just because of the way the existing plan's laid out, we can't completely alleviate the security issues in the cinch because we can't eliminate those exits. And that's part of the challenge is they're so spread out. If something happens, that's a challenge with this building is, you know, when you have to go through it, how do you get from one end to the other in the proper manner? And Ron can probably speak better on that than I can, but I'm aware of the process of how they clear a building and know that just the configuration of the corridors in this one, that's a detriment in terms of security. And unfortunately, we can't, without spending a whole lot more money, you can't fix that in this building.
So within that cost of 34 million, that would be the total bond cost. So to break down that number a little bit, that includes just under 27.8 million for construction. We have in there design and soft costs associated, owner FF&E, which would be new desks, chairs, office materials that are needed. We're also including in there some owner contingency, as well as not knowing exactly when, if this vote occurs this year in '26 or at a later date, but we're including some market escalation right now. And right now, we're tracking and advising all of our clients that we're a little over 1% per quarter right now is the projected escalation cost for 2026.
So I think in terms of 4% in the year.
Yeah.
So, any questions for Brian and Clark up to this point now?
So this does not add any additional student space? Right.
No.
No.
No fifth grade, in other words.
Well, I knew
We would not
that.
be bringing the fifth graders.
One thing that, and again, we didn't really get into that, but there is, in walking through, and we had some conversations, I don't know if there's enough that you could have the, again, 3 to 4 sections of fifth grade. But potentially, I think if when we really truly get into design and how to do this and not step on toes, but I think that there's an opportunity to go through this building and reevaluate what is in what location and reassign where things are, that you may be able to uncover space that could be used for something besides what it's currently being used for.
But I just wanna be clear, so
Yeah.
I know we're not even talking about fifth grade moving back down there, I think
Correct.
we took that off the table.
Yes.
So, how much expansion or student increase could we have right now? After this is done, how much could we have? Barring any reconfiguration.
Yeah. And I guess the question, the answer to that is have you determined or set your limit for classroom? Because that's what will,
Because we're not really adding any classrooms.
yeah, we're not, yeah. And currently, is it, you're 20, I think, or, well, actually, you're
Our max, like, well, I mean, we don't
We've
have a
got-
set number, but like
yeah.
the biggest class this year, I think is like 21.
20. That's what I was thinking around 20.
But we have had bigger classes than that.
Right. Well, in a lot of these rooms, you could put 25 students in it, but again, it gets tight, but it also, especially at this grade level, or this age, the number of students to teacher ratio has an impact on learning, and so sometimes boards have a philosophical that they don't want to get over a certain number there just because of that. And that's, we haven't really got into that.
And I know we've looked at that, and I'm still of the mindset that's like, it's a lot of money for a remodel, that real, in the end of the day, it doesn't necessarily gain us any future. I know everybody says, well, what about the future? Well, we don't know about the future, but we need to be good stewards of the money also, so I think that just all needs to be kept in balance.
When this building, if you do this full $34 million and all this renovation, will it be a 60-year building before we have to get right into it?
I would say
The
that.
facility will last 6 years,
Mm-hmm.
but the only thing is, as James is getting to though, is you're limited, if your population grows, then I'm not gonna say you couldn't add more space to the building, but you're gonna have to start giving things up to do that, I guess is the way to put it. And the biggest thing's parking.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, your question's a little bit pointed, James, because, I mean, yeah, we're not adding extra classrooms, we don't have open space. I mean, I will say, I think if the people are, I mean, I'm just gonna say it, like, if people are doing their homework, our enrollment is not on the grow right now in our lower grades, so there is room capacity there. I do think one benefit of this plan is like the common space, like the cafeteria, where it does feel like we're maxed out. I mean, I think that's designed to be bigger, so that would allow to hold more. I mean, I would think, from my perspective, like, we're hoping, I think that the idea is like, with the remodels, our older rooms are gonna look more like our first grade rooms look now.
Yes.
And one thing that you'll notice, I mean, you guys may not notice it, but what I know from working every day is, once those rooms got remodeled, a lot of furniture went out with that, because the built-ins gave us storage, and so, like, if I walked into third grade or fourth grade right now, there's a lot of rolling cabinets doing a lot of storage for the teachers, so that's taking up square footage. And so if those pieces of furniture aren't in there anymore, it would give you more room for children in those rooms, if that makes sense. I mean, I also think, kind of what Clark's point was a little bit ago, is if we get into this project, there would be some potential for further discussions for, are there some other spaces that we could reconfigure differently in our school? One space that comes right to my mind is, if this is what we do, the office space that we currently occupy is open. Could that be reconfigured a little bit differently or used differently, which would open up, let's just say Rachel Belcher's room, maybe that becomes a little special ed area, we talked about that before we talked all the other talks, right? And then like her room, which is in that second grade hallway, maybe opens up, and it's maybe not big enough for a classroom, but maybe it becomes a special ed room, then a special ed room that's more regular size becomes a regular room. I mean, I think there are reconfigurations possible, but we can't spend all of our time deciding those things right now.
That's an exercise.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying, so.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
On here, I know we talked about building the addition on for the music area. I presume that means the 2 music rooms and the music storage room would become part of the cafeteria?
That was kind of the intent, was to.
That's what I thought. It doesn't show it necessarily on here.
Well,
It shows
this
the current
is
floor
heavy
plan.
remodel, but the intent was, the idea was to get more space for the cafeteria in hopes, one, to improve circulation, but also maybe to eliminate one of the lunch periods so that you
Right.
don't have to start and run
Right.
quite as long to get kids to go through, yeah.
I re-
15 to 1 o'clock.
I remember that discussion for the past couple of years. My other question is, and I'm going to play the devil's advocate here, we got asked the question a lot, how much of what you're wanting to do is a need and how much of what you're wanting to do is a want? So with you guys having gone through all this, it's hard for me looking at blue, green, yellow, and red to know how that breaks down want and need, and maybe there's no correlation. But, I mean, is this $34 million of stuff that if we don't have it in the next 5 to 10 years, the building's worthless? Or how much of this is want, how much is need?
Well, and I'm gonna maybe address, and then you guys can mull it over, partly because I remember this conversation, and I think it comes from individual perspective.
Sure.
And that's, you're gonna struggle with this. You know, we've talked about, we wanna put new casework in classrooms, partly so that they gain efficiency. Is that a want or is that a need? To me, that's, from Dartmouth's perspective, it's a need, because you get rid of,
That's the perspective that I want.
yeah, to me, that is a need that it needs to be done. The cabinets that are in there are getting old and deteriorated, they have maintenance issues that need to be taken care of. So that's
part of this scope is to get those replaced to improve the efficiency of what can be stored and how they're used.
Okay.
So, but I wanna be careful because again, this is, I won't say a bias, but I very distinctly remember, some people may think that's a, you know, a want, not a need. So that's this is where when people bring that up, it's, you know, one of the things is they may say, well, you know, we're putting a new fire alarm in the building. Well, that's a want. You know, that's not a need. Well, actually it is, because the code's gonna require that we do it once you start
As soon
renovating.
as you touch it, the fire marshal.
Hey, Tristan,
Yeah, so,
I understand, we're not gonna make everybody in town happy no
Right.
matter what we do. I mean, if we did perfect, somebody would complain that the carpet was the wrong color. I 100% get that.
Yeah.
I'm saying from like a Craig and a Darla, for you guys who have the background in education,
yeah.
most of this you were thinking is need, not necessary.
Yes.
Yeah, because there
Okay.
really wasn't any real fluff, because, and to be honest, we did talk about maybe, at least from my perspective, and Darla and I, we had talked a little bit about, we moved the cafeteria, you know, we rearranged where classrooms are at. That becomes maybe more of a want instead of a need, because by moving things around, which is something I still think if you do renovations, we really ought to look seriously at, you can improve how the building's organized and how things flow. But that's not necessary to be able to keep them, allow them to continue to do what they're doing and deliver materials and education to the kids.
Based on conversations we've had in the past amongst all of us in the community, it looks to me like the majority of the cost would come from moving the office, which in my opinion, from a safety standpoint, is a need. Dealing with this lunchroom situation, which is a need. I can tell you I've eaten lunch in there more than one time, it is definitely a need. Mechanical, electrical, things along those lines, those systems wear out, those are needs.
Yes.
So, like, I agree, looking at this, to me, the majority of this is needs. Could we get away with not putting a new coat of paint on something? Yeah, probably, but that number's not greatly affecting the bottom line here. So I just wanted to make sure that we talked about that, because that is a major concern of people.
Well, that is, and one of the things, and we kind of internally discussed is there is a portion of this building that's light renovations, and we talked about new paint, ceilings, floors, that if we're doing things in the rest of the building, and at this time, it's less expensive to do it now than later. Do you wanna have a building that 3/4 of it looks brand new and 1/4 looks like it's 15 years old?
Well, and by the time this is done, it won't look brand new anymore,
Yeah,
because we'll be doing construction on site for several years,
Yeah.
so.
well, that's another good.
Yes, and the timeline on this was a couple of years, 2 or 3, I don't know.
Well, again,
We love to have 2 summers in the year in between, and it's what kind of, square footage real estate can we take where it's not disrupting classes
Okay.
while it's going on, but so that we're not 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
Right, no, and I just, like, we're not talking like a 3-month renovation.
No, no,
No.
no.
Yeah.
Right, I understand that, I'm just wanting to say that,
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a 2-year commitment
Right.
Yeah.
and depending upon how much square footage we can give them during the school year, like we talked about, it's going to, to get this done in 2 years, it's gonna require that we give them the square footage during the school year. So it's gonna be messy, noisy, it's going to be somewhat challenging. So anyway. So having said that, that's a good point to state that's the obvious. It's going to impact students learning, teachers teaching, if we're giving them parts of the building. Now, they'll work together with us, like for example, if we're doing state assessments in March, whatever, they will try to give us, the rooms that we need for quiet testing, if there are certain things, we'll work together, but it's going to be give and take all throughout. Other questions, comments, anything?
I just want to say thanks to you guys, this is what we asked for. I appreciate the effort you guys have put into it.
I want to look at one thing, unless anybody else has anything else. Selena, do you have anything?
million is not worth it to do the remodel, disrupt learning, and then not get fifth grade moved. So.
I agree.
And so, real quick, I wanna point out just one example. I'm not gonna go through all the examples. You also have charts on there for what, again, from Piper Sandler, in terms of what the bond issue, potential bond issue, if you choose to move forward with another bond issue, what it could look like. Christie has pulled this up on the screen. This is for 34 million. So again, and you also have the old one from 45 million on your computer. So if you want to, you can pull up maybe the 45 million one on your computer and look on the screen at the 34 million with Christie. So making sure, I'm gonna do one example only. If you take that $34 million, if we were to do a bond issue and it passes, and let's say we do 20 years, that's gonna be a 4.5 mil increase over 20 years. And then if you go down, we'll just choose one house only, $150,000 home. It's gonna be a $77.63 tax hit a year to a $150,000 home. So we're gonna do that same exercise on that $45 million option. If we were on 20 years, same years, 20 years, 45 million, instead of 4.5 mils, it's 6 mils. And on that same $150,000 home, it's $103.50. So you're talking less than $30, $25, approximately $26 a year difference in brand new, taken care of, 45 million bond issue, pre-K, or sorry, birth to grade 5 facility. So we were asked to look into the renovation information piece, the add-on renovation. I think the public may be really interested in getting both pieces of information. And you know, we've talked about how do we get that out there? Do we do open house town hall meetings again for the month of February or whatever the case might be? That's something you guys will have to decide, just to give me a direction on. Do we make those meetings occur and we show the public, listen, our presentation is going to be very minimal. We'll show them what this could look like. We could have blown up again poster boards, the add-on renovation to the current facility, what the tax implications are of that, and then what it could have been at 45 million. I will also say this: do we need to look and Selena made a really good comment in terms of don't really think it makes a lot of sense. Still seems to make sense to look at a new building. We've talked a little bit about this with Brian, Clark, Darla, me, and Mike, and I think I might have even shared with you guys this in the Friday note. Do we look at doing, we had 4 sections per each grade. Do we look at a new building with now just 3? We trim that new building and we share that with the public. We're adjusting a new building, and this might reduce the cost. We if we want to go ahead and remove the 5th grade out of the new building, then that's going to take square footage away. That can reduce that cost. Those are the types of things I guess we need to find out. What is it that what can we pass? What we need and what we want, what we think we need and what's best, we still have to be able to pass it. So it doesn't matter what we really think is best. We presented that. Didn't work. So now we got to figure out what we can pass and what makes sense and what's the right thing.
Well, I think that obviously sharing this information will get people realizing that, they were really serious about this. They're going to address the issues at the elementary school, and it wasn't just someone's crowning achievement, and it wasn't, a big dream. So it continues the conversation of all the things that you just said, and I don't know, regardless of what social media says about things, we can at least engage people and talk about what we need to do in the future, I guess.
I agree. I understand why we have the 45 million there. I think we need to be careful about throwing that number around, because that $45 million building wouldn't cost $45 million now, because it's going up, you said, 1% per
4%
quarter, right? So we're talking at least 1% more, right? And my personal thought is with the growth being fairly stagnant, we haven't seen it yet, and at the other site, there would be room to expand in the future if we needed to. I would think cutting back to 3 sections might help reduce the cost of the increasing price since we talked about it in the first place. Like personally, to me, what I don't want is somebody to come and say, well, you told us 45 and then we agreed to it, but now you're putting up for a bond issue and it's 52 or whatever. So, because we had some that thrown a background before, we said something, it'll be around this, and then when we got a better number, it was, well, why are you raising it? So I just want to be as open and clear about it as possible.
So when we talk on the heavy renovation, the new mechanical, new electrical, new plumbing, those are gonna basically replace our HVACs to newer. And the new building would already be newer, and so we're gonna gain some efficiencies at the start.
Yeah, and part of the heavy renovations in that, a lot of that is plumbing, where to repair the plumbing, we're cutting floors, we're tearing into things to get to these systems that are buried. So that's what makes it cost more.
And that may in fact not be all of it, or would it be all of it? You take all the plumbing.
Pretty much, that's
Pretty much.
what
Yeah.
we're targeting, is all the restrooms, just some of the pictures that were done in advance to show the pipes corroding inward that is causing some issues there.
Yeah, it's a heck of a lot easier to put down new plumbing than it is to chop the old plumbing out of the ground and then put in new plumbing.
Well, that's good.
So-
And then put all the chop.
I mean,
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I see we're gonna upgrade the lights, which is today's deal with, serve and save you,
Yeah.
versus the new is already gonna have the new lights in it, so I just,
And again, one of the things that we do, whether it's remodel or new construction, and I'm sure that these guys when they build, is we're going to be choosing devices and fixtures that are current and more energy efficient than those fixtures that were put in 15 to 20 or 50 years ago.
40 or 50 years ago.
Yes. And that's just the nature of,
right.
that's just, I used to really promote a green design, well, that's just second nature to me, and that's just, we try to be very selective in what we choose, so that we are more energy efficient. And one of the best things is in theory, to an average building, we're hoping that we'll be 20-25% maybe less in the energy use than a traditional school that somebody isn't really looking at that kind of stuff. And a lot of that's choosing the right mechanical systems and the right, electrical, a lot of it's light fixtures and that. And of course, everything's going to LEDs, and LEDs are much more energy conscious in the sense that you don't use as much energy, and therefore it reduces your overhead.
So do we need to decide what it is we want to do next, now?
If it would be beneficial, we could go back and look at what some of that space reduction, and look at an updated number to share with you, to share with the board, if that would be helpful to look at.
Because because we were just, one of the things we were just talking off the cuff, and that is you go from a 4-section to a 3-section, you're gonna eliminate at least probably 6 classrooms.
Yep.
So then what does that do overall to square footage and budget, and then how does that, when those rooms are eliminated, how much circulation space and some of that, there's an efficiency number we can just plug in, and we can tell you that, again, because it's, depending on the type of classrooms, most of those classrooms that we were figuring at 900 square feet or 1,000 square feet, then, if you just figure 1,000 square feet, you're talking about 6,000 square feet, at the dollars per square foot, that's a pretty nice number.
Do you feel like you as a board are wanting or getting close to engaging the public in terms of discussions on these two possible options?
I think once that they get that,
Okay.
then I would say yes.
Yeah, the 3 section.
So one thing the public wanted last time was they wanted more information on this type of a bill
Yep,
on top of the new bill.
yep.
So I think if we can reorganize the new bill and compare it to what you brought us, and then we'll have current numbers for a remodel and a new bill.
Yeah.
And
And I'll
just go
put,
back
kind of
in.
like Bob was saying, with devil's advocate, if the new bill that the community passes and will support is pre-K through 4th, and no Belk and no, 5th grade, is that an avenue we need to get a number for too? New building with 3 section,
So,
efficient, smaller, not smaller, but, you know, efficient, right sized. We already have a place for the 5th grade, why do we need to move them? Belts are there, you just remount the building anyway, that's silly. But have the pre-K in there and all that stuff, so.
And those, and like the Belk is a pretty, because of how it was laid out in the plan, that's a pretty good square footage. It's
Right.
easy to feed these guys to get a number for that. Shouldn't be
so
that difficult.
I agree with what James and Ronnie said. Obviously, those numbers would be awesome if you guys can get them for us. That being said, I don't think I need that number right now to decide that we probably need to meet with the community again. I don't need to wait a month to get a number to then make a decision to go have a conversation.
Yeah.
Because what else are we gonna do with that number but have the conversation?
Here's a possible idea, I'll throw this out, if you have other better ideas, please share them with me, and I'm happy. Do you do something, let's just say in the month of February, where you have an open house, town hall type informational, I mean, our presentation is gonna be very minimal, guys. It's gonna be very minimal, it's gonna be just listening, absorbing, and getting feedback. Do you do like, the first week in January, or February, you do a Monday meeting, and the second week in February, you do a Tuesday, and the third week, you do a Wednesday, and the fourth week, you do a Thursday, and you're hitting 4 different days in four weeks in the month of February. And gaining that information.
Yeah, I think we're still at the sticker shock moment too, with 45 million and then, you know, $8,000 addition for 34 is what people are saying, so.
Yeah, that's
just-
what there is.
So, yes, getting all the information and having a discussion about with one classroom not being $1 million to get over, it, we're gonna have to figure out like what it costs and what we're gonna do.
So are you saying you're not ready to set?
No, I'm ready to do that, I'm ready to get out there and talk about it, and it's just,
So I think I like Craig's idea. We did hear feedback last time that different days didn't work, so if we picked 4 different days on 4 different weeks, obviously we can't please everybody. And the other thing was people said they didn't hear about it in time. I don't know if we can send out something to where everybody in the district gets a notification directly to their phone. I mean, I know Craig's got all kinds of capabilities. So, I mean, as opposed to just put it on Facebook and on the website, which the average parent might not go look at regularly.
Who you're not hitting are your non-parents.
I agree.
Because, I mean, it was on Facebook, it was on the website. Everyone got a postcard mailer several weeks in advance of the meetings. And that was every registered voter.
Okay.
We'll schedule in the paper.
Yeah, you know, so I find it hard to believe that people didn't know about the meetings.
I agree with what you're
and
saying, but that's the
I guess
feedback we
I
got.
guess what I'm saying is, I don't know what other avenues than what was done. I'd love to hear other ideas, because we pretty much hit every,
Well, I think we just shotgun approach it and
yeah.
get it out there, so.
Mhm.
Are you thinking you would like to try this in February? Because March is spring break month, and then you're into April, guys.
February
It's-
would be good.
We are, correct me if I'm wrong, our week for interviewing superintendent applicants is the end of January, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I just wanna make sure it'd be no overlap.
Yeah, again, the next time you would probably look to do a bond issue, either could be August or November, because again, the state is now giving you 3 times to do a school bond issue. Month of March, first Tuesday in March, first Tuesday in August, first Tuesday in November. So your chances, again, of when you wanna try to run, when you can't, we're not ready to go in March, obviously, you need public feedback. August possibly, or November. November will be a general election, that's something to think about. Won't be a special election. August could, I don't know if they've got primaries, they might have primaries, so we may not have to pay for that in August, if there's a primary being run.
I think once we
We
get
can
some
figure that out.
feedback, we can
Sure.
get, yeah, so.
Sure.
I only ask because I know it's hard, it's easy for us to talk over when she's on there. Does Selena have any input she wants to give?
Yes. Anything else, Selena, you wanna
Selena,
add?
No, I don't think so. Just, yeah, definitely want to get community involvement and input, and just maybe if we can better explain how the finances break down and what, you know,
Yeah.
the regular homeowner is left with paying versus, what Wolf Creek is paying
Sure.
and averaging, so.
And I liked your graphic, if we had that on a new construction, what that would look like too.
Yeah, we got some work to do. Yeah.
I mean, we don't need the map necessarily.
Yeah, no.
But as far as the breakdown, maybe a call.
Okay, we'll work on this, get our team back up together, going, off of, outside of a board meeting, and, I will start working on trying to put together some meeting, days and times, again, thinking about that first week is a Monday, the second week would be a Tuesday, because our second week would be the first, or there'll be the second Monday for a board meeting, just trying to space those meetings out in different days, and anybody that can make it will be there. Of course, Brian and Clark will be able to be there some, if not all. Potentially depends on their schedule, and then we've got, maybe, Clayton Kelly from Piper Sandler that can come to some of those meetings as well. So anyway, and we have a pretty good idea, we've done a lot of work over the last year and a half, 2 years of understanding, we have a pretty good grasp on the numbers, so, okay. I think that's all I have. Anything else from Clark and Brian?
We
before
were,
they head
Brian
out?
and I were just chatting a little bit, we think that we can get you maybe for your Friday report by the end of the month, before you get to February,
Good.
these updated numbers.
Great.
We're counting on it.
That shouldn't be any big issue, as long as I don't get run over heading back to the office.
An updated one of those for a new build would be a little bit difficult, just from the standpoint of like,
I just need numbers.
how big is the
Well, you
office?
pretty have probably more description
So
of
we
what's
have
going
a lot
on.
of good detail of what that would
Yeah.
look like, the renderings and
Yeah.
some people.
But,
did something
but
on
we
it.
could, I think maybe I could get I think I've got the ability, partly because it was two-story, but we could lay out, if we go to a three-section,
Mhm.
this is what disappears. You know,
Yeah.
assign a color that these spaces would go away. If belt goes away, this is what would vanish.
The last thing I think we can also mention too, at those open house community type meetings is, I've shared with you 2 letters. I haven't got, Emporium State's kind of a little changeover in their leadership and stuff going on, but anyway, there are 2 entities, Flint Hills Technical College and Allen County Community College, that are interested in having a presence in Coffee County if they have the space in place. If the elementary school all of a sudden becomes an open facility, there's the possibility that you could have Flint Hills Technical College and Allen County classes have a presence in Coffee County.
And we have letters of interest from,
Behind the scenes.
Yes, we have letters of interest.
obviously not a letter of commitment,
Correct.
but something in writing that says they are interested.
They are interested in having a presence, a foothold here in Coffee County. But again, it's not, we don't have a contract saying they'll, do this, that, or the other, but they have a strong interest, so anyway. I will work on some information with our team outside, and Darla and Clark and Mike and Brian and myself, and I'll be sharing with you on updates, and we'll work to put together some meetings for February.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks for the information.
Guys, thank you. If you wanna head on out, you got a long drive, so travel safe.
Go get your fingers fixed.
Yeah. Another week of doing this, and then we'll be back.
Okay, we have with us,
Board reports first, board member
oh, I'm
items.
sorry.
Board member
I'm
items,
so
board
sorry.
reports.
Board reports. Anybody have anything, board items?
I'll just speak to the email that Craig sent out about the Kansas legislature and likelihood that they will declare a phone ban, K through 12 in schools and other electronics, whatever. Just, I'm not saying it's good or bad, I'm not real fond of Topeka telling us what to do in our school district, but they're also telling what Wichita to do, because we're not the same. But just kind of wrap your head around, keep an eye on that. Ask parents questions about what they've had. I've asked some other board members in other districts that have had a ban on phones in schools. The biggest pushback they get was parents. They don't know how to contact their babies anymore if something's going on. And that's a real thing. But we need to make sure that if we have to make a policy, we make sure that that's been addressed and taken care of to every extent we can. The whole, they didn't have kids phones back in the day thing, my kids survived, well, the reality is, not all of them did, they're just not here to talk about it. And so, I think we need to realistically, make sure we answer everyone's questions about that if we have to do it.
And it was kind of interesting as we had the alumni discussion last month where some said, well, some teachers are a little more lax on that than some others, so.
They did point out, though, that those of them who are taking college classes
Yeah.
have the
No,
access to
I
phones.
get that, but
Yeah,
I
very
mean,
important.
but you tell somebody else that they can't have theirs because.
Yeah.
Like I said, these needs to be, we need to find what works with us and still meets whatever it comes down to.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, thank you, Lucas. Audit report. Now you're.
We have an hour and 10 minutes in. We have Emily Franks here, from Jared Gilmore and Phillips.
The ice cream's melting.
I'm Emily Franks with Jerry Gilmore Phillips. I'm hoping that you guys will have the audit packets in front of you. There are some loose reports that we will come back to at the end. They're kind of behind the page there, but if you would, we're just gonna go ahead and jump to page 1, which this is the independent audit report. This is from our office, and this is our opinion on the financial statements. So we do issue 2 opinions, an adverse opinion and an unmodified opinion. The reason why we issue an adverse opinion is because you as a school district follow Kansas regulatory basis of accounting, which is a modified cash basis, which means you're not going to see the long-term debt on your balance sheet as you would in like a business world or your accounts receivable. It's cash in, cash out. That's what's going to be audited throughout. But you can see the first 3 paragraphs. This talks about what we audited, so the summary statement of regulatory basis receipts, expenditures, and unencumbered cash balance of Unified School District 244 as of and for the year ended June 30th of 2025, as well as the related notes that are with the financial statement. We did issue an adverse opinion on generally accepted accounting principles, but we did issue an unmodified opinion on that regulatory basis of accounting. So in layman's terms, that would be considered like a clean opinion, but that just means that your financial statements are materially correct. Next couple paragraphs talk about the basis for the 2 opinions, and then the bottom of the page talks about responsibilities of management over that financial statement. On page 2, this is our responsibility as your auditor over the financial statement. Bottom of the page talks about supplementary information. You as a district did spend more than $750,000 in federal funds. So that requires additional testing and reporting in order to make sure that you are in compliance. Page 2, bottom paragraph, kind of talks a little bit about that scheduled expenditures, as well as additional schedules that are found in here that supplement that basic financial statement. Page 3, middle paragraph, this talks about where you can find the prior year audit report, because we do include those numbers in here. Also lists the date that the audit was issued. And then bottom paragraph talks about reporting requirements for government auditing standards, which is because you are that single audit, so you spent more than that $750,000. If you go ahead and flip to page 4 and 5, this is that statement one, so this is your financial statement, which is, it lists out your funds on the left-hand side. Next column's gonna be your beginning unencumbered cash. We add receipts, subtract expenditures, and then come back to your ending unencumbered cash. The accounts payable gets added back to get back to your actual cash balance. So if you look to page 5, you can see that for fiscal year ending June 30, 2025, your cash was $8,467,271 at the district level, but cumulative cash was $8,586,807. There are some agency funds that are subtracted off. They're held by the district but belong to other entities, clubs, teams, and so that doesn't count towards the cash that you guys have available to spend. Okay, if you would, page 6, this is the start of the footnote, so this information supplements that basic financial statement that we just discussed. Paragraph, or footnote number 1, this is just summary of significant accounting policies. This is gonna be standard amongst all of these school districts that you pick up in Kansas, although there are some things that are specific to you, like the entities that are related entities. So you do have the rec commission that is with the district, and so that's listed here. So that's one thing that would be different between you guys and other districts. But if you flip to page 8, this is going to give a little bit of information about the budget process. Middle of the page talks about how you did hold a revenue neutral rate for this specific year, so this would have been a couple years ago that you actually approved that budget. There were no budget amendments, however, the general fund and the supplemental general fund budget were decreased to the legal max, which is due to that final enrollment being less than what it was originally estimated to be. And then on page 9, if you go to footnote number 2, this is stewardship, compliance, and accountability with the Kansas statutes. On that statement 1 that we discussed, if any of those ending unencumbered cash balances would have been negative, then that would have been a violation by Kansas statute, which none of them were, so you guys were in compliance with that statute. And then the next big one that they look at is your compliance with the budget laws. So were any of your funds over budget? And for you guys, there were no budget violations for this fiscal year, which there's another schedule back here that I'll touch base on as we kind of go through this. Footnote number 3 talks about deposits and investments. You as a government entity are required to have all your funds secured. Monthly is supposed to be checked, but specifically at year end. So if you go to page 10, you can see this lists out what the total deposits of the district were, and then the cash balance in the bank. Now the cash balance is what is required to be secured. But you can see that that balance was held by 3 banks, and of that you had $1,673,000 that was covered by FDIC insurance, and then the remaining amount was collateralized with securities pledged. So you guys were in compliance with that as well. Footnote number 4, this is finance lease obligations, just lists out that debt and then all the future payments that you have associated with it. Footnote 5, just your rights to use contracts, so this would be like your lease agreements, and if there was anything that would go beyond this, the end of this fiscal year that you had signed in the prior year, it would be listed out here. Page 11, this gives a little bit more information on that long-term debt. And then the next few footnotes, like number 7, defined benefit pension plan. Again, this is something that's coming down from the state level, but you can see on page 13, it lists out, what your liability would be for your employees if capers weren't to be able to fulfill their obligation to your retirees. And then 8 is long-term obligations for operations. This is specific for your compensated absences and what the district may owe to employees for their unused vacation time. And again, this is footnoted because you are regulatory basis, so your cash basis financials. On page 15, a couple footnotes here, just kind of talk about risk and then contingent liabilities. Then the bottom footnote is the transfers, it lists the funds that it went from and to, and then the statutory authority associated with them, as well as the amounts. And then on page 16 lists out, if there was any subsequent events, which there were not. On page 17, this is the budget schedule I was making reference to. If any of these funds were to have a positive balance on the right-hand side, then it would be a violation. There is one that's 29 cents, but that's immaterial to what we're doing, so. But you can see that everything else is in compliance there. Now, page 18 through, let's see, 44, well, 43, those are gonna be the individual fund schedules. So your general fund, supplemental fund, capers fund, capital outlay, and it does have comparisons from the 2024 numbers to the 2025 numbers, and then the funds that are required to be budgeted, you will find the budget in there as well as the variance over under on the budgets for the specific funds. Page 44 starts the agency funds. This is those funds that are held for others, not money available to the district to spend. Page 46, this is the activity funds. This is going to be your athletics, and then there's some school project funds that are there as well. And then 47, this is the schedule of expenditures of federal awards. So this lists out all of the money that the district has spent that was federal dollars. It's broke down by the department of the government that the money has come from, and then it lists out each of the specific programs, and the government does issue, it's called an assistance listing number, but that tells you what branch of the government it's coming from, and then the specific grant that's associated with it. So you can see here as a district on page 48, you did spend $1,035,712 of federal funds during the fiscal year. Page 49, this is reports specific to internal controls over financial reporting with compliance and other matters on audit, financial statement performance towards government auditing standards, but these reports are specific to the financial statements. If there was any issues with internal controls or compliance, that would be listed here, and of course we did have no problems there. 51, this is specific to the major programs that were tested through the audit process and compliance with the uniform guidance, so that sets out the rules as far as what we have to test and the guidance for you guys spending the dollars. The information for that comes out of that uniform guidance. But again, we did not have any issues to note, and so we did issue unmodified opinion with regards to that federal compliance. And so page 54, this is like a one-page synopsis of what all I've talked about. But you can see here we did issue adverse opinion on financial statements, and then unmodified opinion on the regulatory basis. We didn't have any internal controls or material weaknesses to note. There were no issues with the federal awards that we tested as our major programs. And then kind of towards the bottom of the page, we do list out the major programs that we tested. So we tested the Title I, and then we also tested the Child Nutrition Cluster. And there's a threshold for, well, single audit would be the 750, but then you as a district are not considered a low-risk auditee, which what that means is there's just additional testing that has to be done because you're not a low-risk auditee. But the reason you're not a low-risk auditee is because you do not follow that generally accepted accounting principles. So as long as you follow the Kansas regulatory basis, you cannot be a low-risk auditee. And then there were no financial statement findings and no federal award findings or question costs. And then last page, if there was any prior year audit findings, they would be listed here, but there were none. Okay, is there any questions about that?
Thank you very much.
No, okay, just real quick, sorry, I know you want me to hurry up.
No, you're fine.
There are loose reports here. This is, important information, it's specific to stay within the board and management of the district. Each of your packets does have these as well, hopefully they have them. But if we would have encountered, there was a staff that had reports and a staff that was like general public ones, okay, but you'll get them eventually. But this would list out any issues, if we would have had any management issues, anything we saw that rose to a level of concern. We did have some journal entries that were needed to be performed in order to get the financial statements to where you see them today from where you may have previously seen them, but those are included in that packet as well, so when you get that. And then there also is a management representation letter. This is a letter from you as the board to our office. It lists out all the things we would have discussed throughout the audit process. If there was legal issues, it would have been discussed. And you'll comply, with submitting the information to the clearinghouse, things like that. So is there any questions?
That's it.
Okay.
I just have one.
Yes.
Would you say that this is pretty typical of what you see throughout Kansas? Better than? How do you feel about it?
It's pretty typical, but I'm not the lead auditor on your school district. Kyle does the school district audits, so he would be a better one to ask that question of, and I can have him get back with you, but I specifically usually do the counties and community college audits, and so, but Kyle's only one person, and he was already delivering 2 audits tonight to other school districts, so. I understand it, but I'll have
Yes.
him get with you and answer that question.
I will share that as a response.
Anybody else? Selena? Selena, you have any questions?
It was so boring, she fell asleep. Okay,
Okay.
well, thank you.
Motion to approve the 2024-2025 audit as presented.
Second.
Motion seconded. Any discussion?
I just think there's a lot of work that goes into making all these numbers work and get all the money where it's supposed to go, and I think that.
So Christie, thank you very much.
Yes.
That's where I'm going.
It's more than
I
that,
know,
it's the building, it's all
It's
the
all-
buildings,
It
it's
takes everybody.
our AP,
It takes a village.
it's every, yeah.
Central
it's really
office
is
staff,
everything.
all buildings, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, submit your vote. Thank you, have a safe trip.
Thank you.
Thanks, Emily.
I didn't see it.
Selena.
Selena? No. Selena?
We're still showing connected.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have to look.
Do we want to mark absent or?
Well, I think she's asking at this point.
Yes, I would say.
It shows her. She voted yea, right?
I think,
Huh?
okay, great.
Or do you do that?
I'll check with her. I'm not sure if I.
Motion carries 7-0. Okay. Results monitoring, so. Who wants to talk about this? Darla, you wanna talk about it?
Well, sure, I'd love to talk. So this is on our ELA or reading results. We report, so for each of our buildings, like my buildings, the Ames Web, the state assessments, and the middle school and high school would be the Fast Bridge, and the state assessments, and then the high school would have, the ACT test also. So, we talked a lot about the state assessments this year, that they were, recut scored. We saw the kids getting recognized tonight. I really will look at my own, but, you know, like when we update these slides, you kind of look at like, well, last year and this year, like as we edit those, and feel like, you know, the kids continue, my building is really, I would say, consistent, like in how we perform there, so I can speak to that. And then I will just real quickly on the portions of the slides that are about like our benchmarking process, which is kind of how we determine who needs the reading interventions. I have those triangles on there, and you can just see that like the groups, like we monitor and measure kids a lot, and we typically see those, you know, like we want to see mostly green, and that's what we see happening as we move throughout the year. So that's the yeah. We may have it. You guys can read. If you have questions or anything about that, you know, I'm happy to answer the specifics, but.
Looks pretty good.
And I think like, I mean, I didn't look at their state assessment results, but, I mean, like, again, in our building, I think we're right at, or a little above the state average, so I think anytime that you're performing at the state average or above, you know, kudos to the people that are, and the kids. Yeah.
Okay, this was actually brought up a little bit earlier, so I'll address it up here. So it is correct that our reading scores at the sophomore level have been on a continuous dip the past few years. Really, that's one of my biggest focuses and goals for next year is to try to get a plan in place and see how we can try to improve those. We've got a couple of challenges in there. We're gonna be losing 2 English teachers, so that's gonna be a challenge in itself. This past fall, we did our interim practice tests for our kids in reading, and there are several areas of deficiency. One of the earliest ones we identified was just the ability to comprehend text and be able to explain back what was being read to them. So early on in the semester, the challenge for all of our teachers was to incorporate more reading for our kids in each individual class and not make it about having to, hey, we're just doing this because. I think it's a whole school-wide thing that we need to work on together, not just throw this on our English teachers and just say, this is on you guys. Not to make excuses or not, but the reading scores in the majority of schools since COVID have continued to go in a non-positive direction. Not saying that that's the only reason, but that is a conversation that happens at quite a few schools. But I would say that will be a huge point of emphasis going into next year after we can solidify our staff, is to incorporate more of the specific areas where our kiddos are struggling and try to focus on a couple different ones versus the whole gamut of the reading comprehension. So that will be definitely a goal for next year. In terms of ACT scores, those again have slowly started to trickle down in a negative light. One of the things, talking with our site council, when we had our 2 meetings early on in the semester, first semester, was how important our test scores to our parents. And I think that's continuing to have our meetings with our site council and talk to our parents with high school kids and our teachers, in fact, is how big of a priority is this for everybody? And if it needs to be, if it is really important for our parents and our community, then putting more emphasis and effort address those correctly, but, reading comprehension is definitely something that's been a focus for us, with our teachers during bell work and just instruction. And I think will be a priority next year as well, after trying to hire 2 English teachers. Any questions on that?
Do we have trend data going back more than 5 years?
For ACT scores, no. It calculates the last 5 years.
We could probably go back and find.
We could
I
access
asked the
those.
question because a 5-point trend is not the most informative thing in the world. If you had a couple classes that scored extremely well, and then you happen to have a couple classes after that who were a little below average, it looks like you have a major downward trend. And really, if you looked at 15 years worth of data, you might notice that it's all within the normal realm of flexibility. It just makes me curious. And these kids that are sophomores now were what, 3rd and 4th graders when COVID hit? So as far as reading and English goes, you guys are the teachers, not me, but that seemed like pretty important years for reading comprehension.
And again, I'm not trying to, I'm not saying that as an excuse at all.
I understand that.
It's, talking to other schools and talking with high school kids, what I am expressing to you is not just a Burlington concern.
Right.
It's a concern in a lot of districts with a lot of high school kids. And, the challenge moving forward is incorporating more of specific examples like reading comprehension in text as schools continue to go more technology-based. We just talked AI a little bit ago, so.
I did not take your statement as an excuse. I took it as a concern.
Yes.
I think one thing, this worth noting is, this more just as a past parent, like, there has been changeover in the English department, and that's not a finger pointer, but like, when Mrs. Parker worked there, it was one of her, I don't know what you'd call her task that she did with kids, was she did a lot of ACT prep with students back then. So even if you did a poll and went back 5 more years on top of this, that you probably could find in the results reports, you probably would see a potential change in the data, just because like the way business maybe was done those 5 years ago versus now is different. That was a person that worked in our district with a lot of longevity and a lot of dedication towards this, so.
It's just interesting to me. I'm obviously a data-driven person, and it's interesting when we're trying to pick out a trend when there's so many factors that come into play on it.
Well, and even colleges now have lowered their ACT requirements.
If they even look at it.
You can, there's a school 45 minutes away that, you can readily get available in there with an ACT score that 20 years ago would have just, there's the door over there. So, schools are lowering their ACT requirements to get into schools for a variety of reasons, so.
And many have eliminated that as a requirement and gone back to GPA.
So, when you eliminate that score altogether, how valuable is it for a large consumption of people? So, again, that's not making blame or excuses for anything, but that is definitely a trend that was not there 10, 15 years ago. Your ACT score was very valuable in terms of scholarships and getting admitted into schools. There's a lot of schools now where they don't even require that. So if it's not a college requirement, there could be an opinion or a debate on how important is that score for a lot of individuals. So, and that's not just for Burlington, that's across the nation.
Good questions.
I have a question too. So we know that information, you know that information, but do the students and the parents know the information of their results of what they got from taking this test? We see this, right, and we know about it, but do the kids know that this is the results from taking a test, and this is what the results was, and compared to the school, and do the parents know what the result of their child was when they took the test, right?
I would
Elementary
say
level
last year I
school.
got it at parent-teacher conferences.
Yeah,
they send out.
At the middle school level, yes, I agree, but I have not, at the high school level, we were talking 9th and 10th grade, right, that the results are not that pretty, and kids and the parents seeing their results, because I know at the middle school, I see my kids' reports, and at the elementary school, when they were there at parent-teacher conferences, we were getting that piece of paper of what their reports were. I don't recall if at the high school level, that information is being communicated to the students and the parents to let them know what their results are. Because, I mean, if we show it up here and everybody knows about it, but the people really needing to make the change aren't aware of their performance and how it needs to get better.
It does seem like that went away around the time we went to the student-led conferences, where they put the PowerPoint together. I don't remember after that happened seeing scores. I remember it before, but that's just my personal.
That's good information to have, and,
What did they receive today?
during CAP.
No, during the assembly.
Oh, they got those for their ACT, recognition.
So they received those.
Well, they received a recognition in terms
Sorry.
of a certificate for it, but no announcement at a parent-teacher conference.
Yeah, and I know that we have, and I don't know, you know, a big deal for you guys, I know we have trophies everywhere. You walk in the multimedia room there, the commons area, and then we have this small section of ACT scores, right? So I don't know if, how we can, hate to throw the word out there, glamorize it, but I mean, make it something that like, hey, this is where you really wanna be, right, as a student, is in this box, right by the multimedia room where it's the ACT score plaques, right?
So for instance, today at our awards assembly, we handed out a certificate in front of our entire school for all of our kids that scored in a level above national average. So that'd be a small example of that. But to answer your question on specific areas where our kids are struggling inside of English with those practice types of questions, those have not been, unless they're conversing with their English teacher, the student, or at parent-teacher conferences, this is that if it's not emailed home or sent home in that regard. So I appreciate that info, and that's something we will do a better job of making sure that the kids that are on there, we have given them every opportunity for the kid and the parent to recognize this is where certain kiddos are landing in this particular concerning area.
We've discussed this before. Obviously, we're seeing the 30,000-foot view of all this. And I'm just curious, do you guys, when these results come back, do you guys get something that says, hey, amongst all the fourth graders or whoever that did this in English, here was one specific area that we scored significantly lower on?
So if you'll go to the middle school report, on there it'll show that writing was actually a strength across the board at the middle school, almost 80% was the average. And so when you think about it, you wanna shoot for 80%. 80% is pretty, when you talk about a pyramid of interventions and things like that, you want 80% of your kids to be there. Our overall writing score at the middle school was very strong. Reading overall was pretty good. Fifth grade was a little bit below the state average. Last year was the first year we had a reading intervention with Miss Bates. And one thing that we noticed with our kids, 5th and 6th grade didn't grow as much, but 7th and 8th grew quite a bit more. We had several kids that actually went from level 1 to a level 2 from the year before, and I can send that specific to you.
Does it break down specific topics though, does it?
Yep,
Yes, it does.
so this is what we get here.
Oh, okay,
So
yeah.
if you look, the overall writing score was pretty strong at the middle school overall. And then you can see, if you look at 7th grade specifically, those are our 8th grade kids now, performed pretty well on that overall also.
Okay.
And I think about like 8th grade language arts the last couple years has kind of been right at a little bit below the state average. When I looked at the 8th grade language arts score from our fall interim, we were performing above the state average across the board except 4 areas. And so as long as we continue with that trend, we're gonna be fine. And that would be Ms. Peterson. And so, I mean, that's a plus, because we can go through and we can see where we're performing with the state.
And I assume this data gets back to the associated teachers so they know different areas to focus on. So
Absolutely.
I don't doubt that you guys are doing it. This kind of ties back to what I do in my real job, and it's just interesting to me.
We actually have our teachers at the middle school spend time and talk as language arts teachers.
Okay.
What are some strengths, what are weaknesses, what can we do to get better?
Very cool, thank you.
And like I said, the challenge for us next year is we're losing 2
good discussion, yes.
Okay, thank you, folks, good work. Okay, need a motion.
I'll move to accept the ELA results monitoring report as reasonable interpretation of the Board of Education's results policy.
Second. Motion to second, any discussion? Hearing none, submit your vote. Selena, are you still there?
They get their Asperger's scores, just keep it comparison.
If you are, submit your vote. Okay, submit your
Yeah,
vote.
I'm here, I submitted, yep,
Okay, thank you.
yep.
I'm gonna have to give it, I got kicked off, so I'm, yes, yay.
Yay, motion carries 7-0. Great. Moving on, motion to approve the amended negotiated agreement.
So this is the first time this happened in 10 years that I've been here. We forgot to include 2 supplemental scenarios, and we just found out about it here midway through the year. These were items that were discussed, supplemental duty committee. We didn't get them for whatever reason. Kathy Freeman and I, we go over and we say initial pages for the negotiated agreement. We forgot these 2. These were 2 items that were discussed and approved at the supplemental duty committee meetings last year. And we forgot to get them, and if I'm not mistaken, we even talked about these during negotiations, but we forgot to get them in to the actual formal agreement. So there they are. And I talked with Kathy, and she's very understanding and she doesn't know how we both missed on this, because this is the first time we've missed something, I guess, in 10 years.
I'll move to ratify the 2025-2026 negotiated agreement as amended.
Second. Motion second, any further discussion? Hearing none, submit your vote. Motion carries 7-0.
7?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Selena's on her.
Yes,
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
good check.
Well, earlier it was 6, because Johnny wasn't here, so
That's right.
I had 6 in my head.
Thanks, Bob.
There you go,
I
tell
mean,
me.
it was Johnny, I had forgotten about it, not
Well,
Selena.
Johnny slipped in on us too, so. KSB, did everybody saw the updated KSB policies? Do you have any questions on it?
I can go over anything that you might want to look at. Thanks to Christy for putting together that information and getting it out to you, the red line adjustments. A lot of it is some, just some verbiage. But again, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to cover it. There is a use of artificial intelligence policy. It's a very general policy, and Craig and I have been talking about, again, the more specific nature of this policy. We reviewed this, Craig and I did. We are in agreement with what this states. We may end up getting some more details as we go forward with an AI policy, but for right now, this is very acceptable. Do you have any questions on it?
We pretty well follow those policies that are, the policies every year that they update.
Mhm. If there's anything I can speak on or you need me to speak on, just ask.
And if you ever see one that you don't like, then you can bring it up to Lucas, but, Bob was the voting member this year. Okay. Motion to approve the policy updates as presented.
Sorry.
Motion second, discussion. Hearing none, submit your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Contracts appointment, district auditor, okay, so we can approve the audit.
Yes. This will be an engagement letter with them.
And there should be, oh, we don't have, that's not, that form, pretty, I'll have that. So we need a motion to approve the engagement letter
Motion to approve the engagement letter with Jared Gilmore and Phillips, public accountant for the 2025-26 financial audit in an amount not to exceed $10,600.
Second.
Motion seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, submit your vote. Motion carries 7-0. You see the multimedia room acoustic, fabric system, gonna replace it,
So this is on our capital outlay plan, our 7-year capital outlay plan. In the multimedia room at the high school, we're having bubbling issues where it's detaching. We're also having where it's pulling apart at seams. It's something that, again, that room is used a lot. It's used a lot for a variety of different things, not only school events, but, community events like, for example, the Women's Health Fair through the hospital and other different events that our buildings are used for. This is a project that can be done over spring break. It's not a must, it's not like it has to be done, but it's not gonna get any better. And the price, we got a quote for it last year, I just felt like we wanted to wait. Last year when we were doing the VOAG shop edition renovation, just wanted to wait a year. The increased price is about $4,000 from one year to the next, so it's like, Clark and Brian mentioned, you just never know, depending on materials, labor, so on and so forth. So having said that, this is not a project that has to be done, but it's a very visible, usable room not only for school, but also for our community. And so if we want to do this now, we sure can. If you want to hold off and do it later, you sure can.
looks a little
It's
tacky.
It's needing to be addressed in some way, shape, or form at some time. Questions on that? I shared some pictures with you, and you've been in there and you've seen it. If you've been in the multimedia room in the last year, 2, 3 years.
How long is the material that's in there now lasted?
That building was that the original building to 79?
No, it's an add-on, it was there.
So it's 99.
I'd say 96, 97, something.
It would've been fall of '96.
So we got
So it's
25, 30 years out of it.
Got 30 years.
Is there a warranty involved with this? As far as, is it gonna peel off the wall?
Oh, the new-
Not the current. I know you didn't pop for the 40-year warranty on it, but for the one that's upcoming, I assume there's some kind of, if we have issues.
I don't know what it is, though. I'm sure there is, though. I just would have to check on that.
I think it looks horrible.
And it is a very in-your-face music.
I'll accept the motion.
I'll motion to accept the bid for acoustic stretch fabric systems incorporated in the amount of $43,888 for the replacement of the Burlington High School multimedia room acoustic wall material.
Second.
Motion seconded. Any discussion? Submit your vote. Motion carries 7-0.
Something similar to look?
Yes.
Okay. right
Yes.
on. No.
Bright
red. Bright red. Cool if we can get a Bobcat in there too. Yeah. That'd be cool.
That's on VHS shed we've been talking about, so, did it get completed at all, or?
It did get completed, and it's ready to go by a bidder.
This is the student-built shed.
Yes.
Yes.
Between the auto shop and the building on the north side.
I'm just curious, do we know how much it costs us to build that thing?
We're just about breaking even.
Okay, that's kind of what I was hoping you'd say.
Yes, and that's what we are ideally looking at.
Move to accept Brian Shank's bid of $1,555 for the VHS shed.
I'll second.
Motion seconded. Discussion. Hearing none, submit your vote.
Good projects for the kids to do, learn some good trade stuff.
Things are not losing ground every time we do it.
Right.
Motion carries 7-0. Executive session.
Yes.
recess into executive session for 10 minutes to discuss matters pursuant to non-elected personnel exemption under COMA related to job performance, and to return to open session in this room at the end of the time, including Craig Marshall.
Second.
Motion seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, submit your vote. Yes, Lily, you can stay online,
Yes, yeah, we'll stay on the phone.
I did cut some cake, if you would like it, I can bring it to you now.
Perfect, let's do that.
Anybody, you want cake?
I'll get some later.
Yeah.
Nolan, do you want cake?
Motion carries 7-0.
Do you want ice cream cake, Johnny?
We're gonna have a slight delay, we're gonna get some ice cream.
Restroom real quick.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you can enjoy your ice cream cake.
Yeah, like, dang it, I'm missing that.
here to listen and take it all in. I had questions, but they got asked before.
Good.
So it's not like I was
That's what
just
we hope to
completely
have.
silent on purpose. It was,
That's what we hope.
You're not, you're not gonna hurt anybody's feelings, ask what you want,
Yeah.
advocate for what you want to hear.
I do think on this, the only thing I probably didn't say as much is, this is more of a what, it's not so much of a why, and what you're gonna gain. This is an informational, not really a motivational
Yeah.
thing, so if that's the intent, it might be intent of informational. But like, if we're going to, make the cafeteria bigger, talk about that here. If you're doing the playground, we gotta do that anyway, so is there room to modify this to where it says,
Yes.
here's the why we're doing this, and here's why now, here's why it makes sense, and
And
so I wasn't involved in all the pre-stuff, so I didn't wanna, just more. of a
I think that was
closed
just kind of a
session.
starting place for us.
yeah,
because
I appreciate that comment, cause
Yeah.
this board's been dealing with it for a while. And so to have your fresh idea of, hey, we need to change that, I appreciate
I
that.
wanna be motivated to do this, I don't wanna.
Well, and so-
Here's the thing, well,
I got you.
that's just money to me.
And that's why you heard a little bit, tonight, and you heard it when we had the meetings, it wasn't a need or wasn't a want.
Yeah.
So when we introduced those things, then some of the public said, those are just wants, those are not needs. And so we kind of wanted to try to define those a little better.
I wonder if you could put like a symbol on there, on the cafeteria, on the office, like a star, and then, and make some little notes that say, this is a necessity because of this.
Yeah. What issue it resolves.
Without making it too cluttered.
Well, the crazy thing is, I think that we wouldn't have it on there if we didn't think we needed it.
Yeah, but
That's
this is
crazy.
almost like, I know you've got light to heavy, but maybe on a there's a little bit of a priority list on it too.
If you have some thoughts or ideas, shoot me an email, and like I say, we'll look to try to, the comments that you just made right now, very good. Shoot me a message if you would, and we're gonna get going with that, with Clark, Mike, Darla, me, and Brian, real quick, because February will be here before we know it.
Yeah.
And
I
so
know
when it
a
gets-
guy that stood up in the back of the room at a public meeting and just asked what question, or what problem you trying to solve.
Yeah.
And I tried to answer as best I could, but
Yeah.
I might have missed the mark, so you're absolutely right.
Right.
Feeling singled out there, Jay?
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Ready to break?
You have a picture, you wanna do a picture?
Oh,
on
yes,
it?
we'll do a picture right here afterwards.
We're gonna adjourn, but we'll do the picture.
Yes.
After, so, Jay, thanks for your comments. 'Cause
I can tell you were impressed.
I was quite impressed. So, more discussion.
Jay, you are the only community member that regularly comes and
Reads it out.
says stuff, so I do appreciate it. Even if I don't agree with your comment,
We stay
I still
here.
appreciate you coming. Not that I disagree.